The Executive Committee and the Health and Human Services Committee, which isn't there now. So that triggers additional oversight and input.
But by having no specifics about COVID-19, there's no way that we have confidence that you're not going to overstep. And not you, but
it has no sense. Wait a second, it is going to be him because he's the executive committee. Excuse me, Adam, you are on the executive committee.
I'm an appointed administrator.
But you are on the executive committee.
No, I report to the executive committee.
So how many are on there? Five, six? Okay.
And the executive committee is your county board chair, your vice chair, and they're elected by the board. So they're kind of the leaders of the board. And there's 9 standing committees in total, and they all oversee different departments. So the Health and Human Services Department is overseen by the Health and Human Services Committee. The Executive Committee is elected again by the county board. That's who I directly report to. I take my marching orders from the county board chair and the Executive Committee. Well, I work for the board as a whole. I mean, we all do.
So I have a very important question. If law enforcement is not going to enact the fines and citations and investigations, who is? And don't be vague with me.
I'll be as specific as I can be. We intentionally tried to steer away from the state approach, which talks about $500 fine, jail, imprisonment. So we added who will do it?
I didn't read that.
Public health staff to do it.
Who?
What
are their names?
I didn't read that.
There's like 20 staff or so
Hold
that
on.
work in public health.
But see, the problem.
But the reason for that is think of all of our law enforcement
No,
officials today and
no.
what they're dealing with: child abuse, domestic violence.
We oppose that
all
as
the
well,
things
though.
they
You
do.
understand that we don't
Yeah,
want police
where does that
enforcement.
get
We just
off the
don't want other
subject here?
officials
Well,
enforcing it as well.
that's why we've tried to pull it away from them. Not pull it away, but really just they have so many other demands
But health
on them
officials
that
are
we don't want them to have
I don't
to
want police enforcing these regulations either. I don't want anyone to.
Yeah. What are you, a
They're not
Gestapo?
trained. They are not
Public
trained.
health should be advisory only, period.
Can I finish the thought? We have 2 or 3 people on staff that are sanitarians.
What does that mean?
A sanitarian is someone who goes to a restaurant or a bar, and they'll check the temperature of the food, and when you go to the buffet, and they'll make sure that they're washing their hands and wearing gloves and all that stuff. We actually have staff who go around to restaurants and bars and do that, believe it or not. Now ask those same staff to go to facilities, these same restaurants and bars that we want to see operating and being successful.
That's what it all
How are you
comes
gonna-
down to.
how are you-
Hold on.
You pull out the rug.
Hold on.
What more are you going to do?
We would like to see
Wait.
these same people working with people in collaboration and saying, hey, you know,
Collaboration. Leave them the
There's
hell
gotta be a
alone.
problem first. We don't have a problem.
And provide for more social distancing.
We don't have a problem. Don't create one.
Government, get the hell out.
We don't have a problem. Don't create one.
Bars and restaurants. This says that they can fine, issue a citation, issue a
Yeah,
summons.
what does that got to do
They are
with
not
health?
trained. Health officials are not trained to do law enforcement, but you're giving them the authority to do that.
Well, it's kind of like we've given our sanitarians the authority to go into a bar.
We don't have a problem. Don't create one.
That's very
Yeah,
different than
leave us
coming into
alone.
our homes.
They don't arrest
They're not
somebody.
You did so good up
How
until
can you
now.
guarantee that?
So good up until now.
we need that clarified.
They're not.
Yeah, we don't have a problem. Leave us alone.
But you can't
We
say
want you
that.
to be specific.
Yeah, it doesn't say that.
Watch this.
Protect our liberties by writing in here what you will not do. Right here and limit your own actions and
If
potentially
you
in
go
the
into
future.
current state law, to read what's on the statutes right now, it's probably quite.
You guys,
Yes, that's why we want to.
you are
because
right.
you are not at the state level. We
Because-
will oppose it at the state level.
It was
you and
written
Judy went into state
dozens
law,
of years
correct?
ago, decades ago.
But doesn't the state ordinance say that what you're doing right now
Yeah, August
doesn't
1st.
supersede them? That they can come back in and do everything that this says? So you're trying to make us feel good by saying your ordinance is softening all the stuff that the state is trying to apply on us, but their statute says that even if you do that, they can still do it. So why are you twisting the words and
And that was
trying to
first
make us
added in
feel
August
comfortable
1st.
that this is making everything better? And let's not get into the minutia, Adam. Like,
Washington County is a sanctuary county. Why aren't we?
you feel comfortable wearing a mask. The science
No,
is
I don't.
that-
I actually-
well, no.
Take it off. Take it off.
Sweating
Take it
under
off.
this, I'm uncomfortable.
Take it
I would
off.
rather not be
Not
here.
that level of comfort. The level of comfort I'm talking about is that it makes you feel safe from.
It doesn't make me feel safe.
It doesn't
I'm
make you
wearing
feel
this
safe
to
from
protect
COVID?
the people around me.
We all give you consent right now. Everyone raise your hand if you want. You can give consent to take off his mask.
No,
Get it off.
Take it
Let
off.
me
Take it off.
finish
Yeah,
this.
you're in
So you feel that the science on that is settled. And in my words up there, do you think Toyota, like the science was settled, their airbags weren't going to kill people, but then they did. They started on fire and killed people. There's so many things. Depo-Provera gives women side effects and children birth defects. They didn't. That was FDA proof. All that's over and over. You watch the TV at night. Call this lawyer because of a hernia mesh malfunction. They didn't make that stuff because they knew it was going to hurt people. The science is not sold on that. My 6-year-old has to wear that to school 7 hours a day. My friend is a first responder. He did a blood oxygen test. It lowered by 4-6%, depending. That's not a lot. I'm not worried about that. But in my kid, his brain is developing. I don't want him to lower his blood oxygen level by 4 to 6%. So when we have a nanny state coming in, like, oh yeah, this is. It's just like the mob mentality when a peaceful protest turns into a protest rolling over cars. It's a mob mentality. So right now we have a mob mentality to pass all these feel-good regulations, make them wear a mask. Let's make them sit 6 feet apart, 12 feet apart at lunch tables so they don't have any interaction. And then they start developing ADHD and autism and all kinds of stuff because they can't play with their friends on the playground. I mean,
But it's okay to let.
is that proven? Is any of that stuff proven that it's not going to affect us? So you,
I agree with
So,
you. That's
in your letter that you wrote saying that this is going to make the county strong, then rewrite it and say that we at the county level will do everything we can to oppose any state and federal overreaches when it comes to our county health decisions, and our board will make those decisions personally. Write it like that. Simple.
Don't refer
It does.
to
It's not
252.
simple.
You're not elected.
No, he can't. But if he wants to write something like that, then write it.
We'll do what we can to improve
Because
upon
that's what he's saying this does.
I have A negative blood. I'm not scared.
Yeah, we don't want
What we need is a pandemic of bloody noses.
Get a virologist in here and talk
Yeah,
to
I have A negative blood. I'm not scared.
You don't need a public health order. You saw how you had it.